Hey, today is April 20th, it's a Tuesday, and I'm going to be going over the two trades I took today. First one was on Boeing, and the second one was on Apple. So let's go to the daily time frame for Boeing first. So Boeing has been weak the last couple of days. We've been chopping around in this area, but there isn't much clear direction on it. It's kind of trading in the range, so I didn't really have a plan going into this in the morning. But if we go down to an intraday time frame, first thing I want to do is to label this. So I'm gonna label this 1 hour zone right here. So I can talk about which zones I played, which zones I avoided, and why I avoided certain zones. Okay. So if we go into this so Boeing gap down invalidated this 90-minute used demand. So you can just get rid of that immediately. The second potential area for Boeing I was watching was this 1 hour zone. And what I saw was this kind of falling wedge slash descending channel right here. And I thought maybe a break of this channel inside of demand could fuel a move higher. So here is why I didn't play this 1 hour zone. You can see that at 10, oh, okay, it was right here, right? So this is close to the open, and you can see that ES, and let me go to NQ as well. NQ is rejecting supply, but Boeing really follows ES. So you can see that as we moved lower, yes, ES moved higher initially, but it wasn't clear direction. I mean, we were choppy for the first 30-40 minutes, so I couldn't really see any clear direction for ES. On top of that, I didn't see any clear confirmations inside of demand for Boeing. We had some lower wicks, but every single candle closed red. There was not one single there wasn't one single green candle in this demand, and hence I avoided it. I wanted to see some sort of clear action, and I couldn't really find that here. This was just a straight move down, no bullish engulfing candles, no lower wicks. The volume here, note of that, means a less chance of reversal. So I can get rid of this 1 hour zone now, get rid of this descending triangle. Now we approach this 90-minute demand, and this is where it really caught my attention. So at 10:40 we had the highest volume spike of the day. And what is Boeing doing? It's absorbing these orders inside of 90-minute demand. Uh, After seeing this volume spike, I was almost convinced that I had to get in, but my confirmations were really huge volume, which is one, demand two. We held this 234 key level very, very nicely as well. Um, at least at least up to this point, given this amount of data, we held 234 fairly well. High volume demand. ES is also in demand, so is NQ. But what I'm really keeping track of is um, the reaction I wanted from ES wasn't very clear. So I guess a lot of people would have taken this 1045 candle, but the reason I didn't take it is because I didn't see any clear signs of strength from ES in this daily demand area. And that was a key reason why I didn't take it here. So at this point I can remove this daily zone. And right here at 10:55, I want to highlight this green candle. This is clear signs of buying inside of demand. You can see volume is also very nice as well. Nice volume inside of demand followed by an actual move out of demand. And what does Boeing do? It also correlates. It has a nice move. And volume is somewhat decent as well. So this is my first entry of the day. We held 234. ES is bouncing from demand. Boeing is bouncing from demand. this isn't really choppy action. This could be a clear move into demand and out. So my entry was right here at I waited for this candle to close just for extra confirmation because a lot of the demand zones today were getting killed. So I entered near the start of this candle, not near the top, not near the bottom, just somewhere in this area around 11 o'clock. At this point, I see that ES is bouncing from demand. It's not the cleanest bounce, but volume is still apparent. But this is where I exited Boeing, and this just comes with practice. But the reason I exited Boeing and I didn't wait for my stop loss of low a day is because look at this volume right here. This is decreasing volume. Uh, the 1055, the 11, and the 1105 candle. Uh, Usually when we bounce from demand, we want to see signs of increased volume or somewhat consistent volume at least, just to let us know that buyers are present and buyers are willing to pay the higher price to move us higher out of this demand zone. But what happened? We were clearly decreasing in volume. This is some of the lowest volume of the day, and we just bounced from demand. On top of that, I was watching this 5 minute rally base and rally, and I saw that this was a failed rally base rally. So as soon as I saw decreasing volume and a failed rally base rally, I immediately exited my position um, on this candle itself, and this resulted in a very small winner. This could have been a somewhat decent sized loss if I let it hit my stop loss. uh, nothing too crazy. That's why I have a stop loss in the first place. But I was able to come out with a very small win. I think it was only like 8 cents per contract, so pretty much break even. But just realizing the signs of a failed rally-based rally, decreasing volume, and this bounce from demand was actually just a pullback for sellers to carry us lower. So I don't think this is a bad trade, even though it didn't work out. Mainly because we held the 234 key level, we had nice volume. ES was also in demand at the same time. Boeing was in demand, so that's four confirmations there. Some things I want to avoid are choppy action, and given this amount of data, I couldn't really predict that the next couple of minutes were choppy because this was a clean move into demand. Next, I want to go over Apple. Okay, so at this point, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I can remove this 4 hour zone on ES now. What is NQ doing? NQ, it was bouncing with ES here, but it was mainly a pullback. It was mainly a period of consolidation for sellers to take us lower. So I can remove this 4 hour demand as well. Okay, so my next play was on Apple and daily time frame. So Apple has been a clear uptrend, forming new demand zones. I've been waiting for this 135 level to break. It's been about 5 key level. So I know that when we do, we're gonna have a nice move, and I'm gonna be able to capitalize on that. But for now, I'm just holding off on this 135 break. Meanwhile, we're forming demand on the way up, and I'm also looking for pullbacks into demand to get long. And what I saw was, um, let's go down to an intraday time frame. So Apple rejects the 135 key level, starts moving lower, and again at 11:20, this catches my attention because we're in a demand zone. Not only are we in a demand zone, but we have nice volume. So that's already two confirmations right there. Obviously, I want to see the futures inside of demand as well. It doesn't always align up, but I usually wait for it to align for it to be a higher probability trade. And what did ES do? At 11:35, uh, right here. At 11:35, right here on this candle, ES hits 45-minute demand. Let me just highlight that. and NQ hits 3 hour demand as well. So now both ES and NQ are inside of demand. Uh, what does Apple do? Apple has a low day fail inside of demand on high volume, while ES and NQ are both in demand. This is the ideal setup you want to see from demand. You want to see a low day fail, that's one confirmation. You want to see high volume, two confirmations. You want to see it not choppy in demand. This is a clean move in and out, three confirmations. And just on top of all of that, if ES and NQ are both in the respective demand zones with good volume, you can see that this had good volume spikes with lower wicks. I mean, everything here set up. Um, but as I said, I removed two or three demand zones because everything was getting killed today. So I really wanted to wait for extra confirmation. And what I saw was this bullish engulfing 1135, 1140. So in hindsight, a better entry would have been above the high of the 1135 candle, speculating a bullish engulfing. But just because everything was getting killed today, I wanted to wait for extra confirmation, and hence I waited for this candle to close, and my entry was on this candle, the 1145 candle, the bottom of it. Immediately, it moves nicely in my favor. At this point, ES and NQ are moving higher as well, so I'm still holding on to both of my contracts. And where I could have taken one off here, but I was really convinced with this move. So you can see that this move wasn't on increasing volume, but this volume right here is consistent volume. It's not decreasing, it's consistent. So buyers are stepping in with good volume and pushing us higher. So I take one contract off here. For some reason, the premiums didn't move as well as I thought they would move. I thought they would move maybe 50 or 60 cents by now, but you have to keep in mind that at this point, Apple hasn't even moved a dollar. So I guess it makes sense that the premiums hadn't moved that much. These candles right here would have definitely moved my premiums if I was on the short side, but we are still moving up. It's a little bit choppy, but at this point, nothing really telling me to get out. But I like to scale one out always just to protect myself. So I scaled one out here for like a 20-25 cent gain on one contract. And here's where I went wrong. Uh, for some reason, I had convinced myself that it was time for a reversal, and so I exited my second contract down here at the bottom of this 12-10 candle. But just looking at the chart, I mean, ES and NQ are making nice green candles. Volume is decreasing, but just looking at the candles of ES and NQ, they're very thick bodied. We're not closing with any upper wicks at all. We're forming higher lows on Apple. I can even draw this trend line now. We're respecting this trend line right here. We made a low here, low here, low here. So there was no reason to get out here. I think a proper exit for my second contract should have been somewhere right here. It shouldn't have been at this top. Oh wait, I didn't even. Should have been on this candle, maybe somewhere in this area. It shouldn't have been the top because theoretically I wouldn't have known this was the top. But as soon as we broke this trend line, I guess it's a valid place to exit my second contract. We're also approaching lunch hours. Volume is now decreasing at this point. So this to me is a valid exit for my second contract. Also kind of rejected this consolidation phase. I don't know if we formed intraday supply or not, but again, this in my opinion was a valid exit. No reason to exit where I did. I scale one out to protect myself. So if this does come back to my end, regardless of my second, that's why I scale one out. Otherwise, I would just scale both out when I'm happy with profits. But for some reason, I scaled one out. Could have been because the premiums weren't moving too much, but that's just a lesson to work on moving forward. But regardless, I stayed patient today. I capitalized on the two opportunities I saw on Boeing and Apple, and I mean they weren't fantastic moves. Still green on the week, but barely green. I mean, this week has just been a very slow start, and I'm fine with that because I know that later on in the week we may have better opportunities. I also want to go over Facebook's intraday chart. Uh, so Facebook was making higher lows from 1140 to 120, while ES and NQ were very choppy, so clear signs of relative strength. Volume starts to pick up here. Um, so I that a lot of people said like they would have played this, but to me, yes, we moved up nicely, and yes, I want to be a part of this move. I mean, we moved up $5 from VVOL, from this 300 level, 300 to 305, but I don't see a clear entry. I mean, maybe maybe I would have counted this as a basing candle. Honestly, I haven't really analyzed Facebook too much in depth on the intraday chart. I can't really list out the confirmations because I closed my screen after my second winning trade on Apple. But I honestly don't see a trade on this based off of the way that I trade. But that just goes to show that sometimes you're gonna have these crazy moves, and based off of the way you trade, if you don't have FOMO, then sometimes you just won't be a part of these moves, and that's completely fine. I'm gonna end the video here, and I'll be back to trade tomorrow.